let's move on. Let's move on to Los Elfos Oscuros. Oh, I forgot to erase my board. All right, well, guess what? You get to watch me erase my board. Go away, you board. No, only go away, you dry erase marker ink. Okay, so here we go. Dark Elves. Dark Elves have also stood the test of time very well. They are, it's an unusual codex. There are like three, I would say there's three main types of armies you can do with this book. And by the way, I do like me some Dark Elves. I made a Dark Elves army for myself back in the age of the chicken-looking Cold One riders. So here it comes. Dark Elves. So here's what the Dark Elf book looks like. Dark Elves are evil. They hate High Elves. They're ancient enemies. And the book actually describes things kind of from their point of view, how the High Elves hosed them down. So there's a bunch of history. Then you get into the rules, talks about the special rules, War Hydra, Sorceress, and the Dark Elves. And that's a weird thing about the High Elves. The High Elves really don't have monsters. They have the dragons, which is kind of the ubiquitous creature. But the Dark Elves, they have manticores and hydras. And they are, you know, more prone to use those beasties. Okay, so first off, before we start, the models for Witch Elves. Witch Elves are a special choice, and they are kind of like these, you know, blood-drinking maidens in this ornate armor with they have like barbed wire wrapped around their thighs, and they are, the models for Witch Elves, I would say, even after all these years, they are still pretty cool. And so, first off, if you take Crone Hellebron, the Hag Queen, 350 points, when she's your general, Witch Elves are core units. So you can change it up, and if you take, so that army looks like this. You've got Witch Elves, big block of Witch Elves, big block of Witch Elves, maybe a third one, depending on how big your army is. And you get Crone Hellebron, maybe some other heroes sprinkled in to taste. See, that's where they go. They go in units. Typically on the corners, because you want to put this here, so if it's a BSB, the radius goes all the way to this other unit, right? Sometimes this will, like if somebody gets a flank charge, this character can be protected, or using the make way rule, can actually get into the combat. Let me make sure my thing is in the right spot. Yeah, I'm a little off there. Okay. So Witch Elves, Witch Elves, Witch Elves. You take two Hydras. Take a Hydra, and then another one on this side, or maybe put them both, to be extra scary, put them both on the same side. And then you get a Cauldron of Blood. Oh! A Cauldron of Blood is like this war altar type of thing. And it falls, and it basically gives one unit a power every turn. And it's those things are in. By the way, Cauldron of Blood, every Dark Elf army needs two of them. It's an auto. It's an auto include. So we're going to put that back here. So we'll put C for Cauldron of Blood, and that. So I want to talk about the Cauldron of Blood kit. The Cauldron of Blood kit is awful. It has a big old statue in it, and the statue's like this, right? It's like holding a heart, you know. Not a real heart, it's just like a stone heart. And then this dagger, right? And then underneath is this big dais and like this pile of skulls. And then there's like the actual Cauldron of Blood. But in the game, the cauldron can move around. And I'm like, how does the statue move around? You know, you just got to use your imagination. And the kit comes with 3 attendants, which the models are pretty cool. And and the cauldron packs a punch too. Just the crone and the 2 attendants can really rip things up. And Frenzy is much more manageable in this edition. Before it was like in 7th edition and before, I wouldn't include anything with Frenzy. Because, great, it gives me extra attacks, but guess what? I'm going to manipulate you through board manipulation, and it's just like, groan, my God. But now you can take a leadership test and restrain. You got a BSV, now you've got control over that frenzy. So give frenzied units another look. So, okay, so we're doing, this is Witch Elves. And the Hydra, I believe, is 175. Let us take a look. Yeah, it's 175. Amazing. I'm amazing like that. I just know it. So Witch Elves. The Cauldron with the Hag is, wow, it's been a while since I have looked at this book. I'm going to say 250. So Death Hag can have a Cauldron at 110. Yeah, so it's 200 with magic items. It's 250. I'm amazing. Just amazing. So Cauldron 250. 250. Yeah, and by the way, I'm going to give you a link to what's called druchii.net. It's druchii.net, and that's the premier Dark Elves forum. By the way, that's the name for the Dark Elves in their own language, I think. So 250, 250. You got your Hydras. For both of them, it's 350. So you are already at 850 just with those 4 models, and that's a goodly third the way there. So you run your Witch Elves, you probably only need them in units of 20, 20, 20. So that's kind of, let's face it, that's the drag with Warhammer Fantasy, is painting up all these guys. But that's what we do. We're currently, maybe not forever, but currently running a special where we will paint up for $3 each. And by the way, if this video is more than a month old, we're probably not doing this anymore. But we might, so check. $3 each for painting level 2. And that's the way to just mass get your guys done. Just get them done. And they'll look good as a group across the board. I'd say our level 2 is as good as typically what you see at your local game shop, at the very least. Okay, so basically the Witch Elves. Come on, be good to me now. Yeah, these would be 200 points each. So we're at 1450. You put in the crone, you're at 1800, right? So wow, guy with some heroes, you would really be all the way there. And what would be fun would be to take some other units, like for example, the crone, not the crone. You take what the heck is it? I can say this. The bolt throwers and give them Witch Elves for crew. That'd be fun. Not necessary, but you could make mounted Witch Elves for Dark Riders. We made a whole army of this where we had things like, actually sculpted up. Okay, so let's move on. It's so this is an army. I would actually add a few repeater bolt throwers. They're 100 RBTs, so times 2 of those. Let's make another square because that's what we do. That's 200. So this can push. You can maybe add a few ranks here. This is basically 2,500 points, and it's very flexible. And I've seen this army. I'm not sure if I have the exact list, but this army I have seen it shred experienced players before. It is really good. So there's that. It was Gary at one of our Valhallas. Gary's a local game shop owner and good friend of mine. And he really did a good job on that. All right, now let's talk about a standard army. One is you can do a Cainite army, which is like these bloodthirsty cultist types of guys. But let's continue. So core, you got your warriors, your crossbowmen, your corsairs, and your dark riders, and your harpies. Harpies don't count towards the point for core, but they also don't count towards points for special either. So harpies are a question. They're a skirmishing flying unit, and actually it just says flying unit, and they're beasts, so I don't know what that means. I think they're fast. But they are a question. That's your war machine hunters right there. But I prefer dark riders, and by the way, when I do dark riders, I use Corsair models, torsos. That's the pirate guys. Oh, by the way, you think pirate like eye patch, or that's not what they're like at all in this game. No, wait, Corsairs we use wood elf glade riders with cloaks sculpted on and the hoods, and we use Dark Elf Corsair arms. That's what we do. But now, okay, big deal. Dark Eldar are out, and Dark Eldar bits make great conversion fodder. We provide the bits at no charge most of the time. So if you gave us a conversions budget, we could definitely include a lot of Dark Eldar bits. Usually we count kit bashing as only some conversions. We actually do conversions when we do that as a budgeted item when you commission an army through us. That was a run-on sentence. Okay, so Dark Elf warriors are now 6 points each. They have spear and light armor. They can get shields for 1 point. So Dark Elf spearmen are actually pretty good, but I don't make them my core units, and here's why. I just have to say, Dark Elves have so many different options and ways the army list can work that it's a bit bewildering. So here's the deal. Dark Riders, which are fast, light cavalry, and I talked about conversions for that, they are core. So you could have a thing where you just have all Dark Riders as your core. Now, unfortunately, well, it's weird. Fast cavalry got a huge boost in 8th edition with the Vanguard move, which basically means you can move out 12 inches, and then you can just be behind lines. But other units got more maneuverability and more options, so it is harder to, and you can't march block people. It used to be you get your fast cav up, and now you couldn't march. 0 chance of marching if an enemy unit was within 8 inches. Now you just pass the leadership test and you're good to go. But and it's weird. It's like, so now you think cavalry is going to get in the flank and they're going to disrupt these units, because disruption's everything. That means taking away the steadfast bonus for multiple ranks. But to do that, you have to have ranks yourself. So are you going to run your fast cavalry 5 wide, 3 deep to get that? You only need 2 ranks. So let me show you how this works, because this is going to kind of have to make sense to you before you can make a Dark Elf army and determine if you want to go Dark Riders. So 5 wide, 2 deep. So this can now break what's called break ranks. That's not official, by the way. So let's say you have a unit of foot soldiers, right? And let's say they're 5 wide and 5 deep, say. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so you attack them from the front, but guess what? As long as they have more ranks than they're steadfast. So that means no matter how bad you beat them, they always test on their normal leadership. They take no penalties, so they're likely to hold. But if you can get something, any unit in the flank, that can cause what's called disruption, which means their ranks don't, not only do they not count towards combat resolution, but they also aren't steadfast anymore, which means now if they lose the combat, they take the test at a penalty, and you might think, well, who cares? Well, that's how you win Warhammer Fantasy. You attack the enemy units, you break them, you run them down. So you don't just kill things in Warhammer Fantasy, you've got to kind of maneuver around and get them to run away, basically. And then cut them down with the sweeping advance. So, but the problem is, if you kill, in this fast cavalry unit, if you kill 1 guy, guess what? No longer causing disruption. Because, am I lined up here? Are you able to see all that? Yeah, no longer causing disruption. So now, flip. Are you going to make these guys like this? So you're going to make them 15, so even if they take 5 casualties, you still cause whatever. And with the Vanguard move, that's just it. With the Vanguard move, bam, you're already set up for, you can't charge the first turn, but you're back there. So it would, to me, it would be a tough choice which way to go in a Dark Elf army, you know, because the Dark Riders, because they're core, could you make 2 units of 15 Dark Riders and say, "Ba-da, there's my core. Now I'm going to put specialty units in the middle." Let's examine that possibility, shall we? So, Dark Riders, if you have a unit of 10, that's 170, plus a musician. You don't get a command and fast cavalry units. So, Yeah, that's 170, so it'd be right around 250 for a unit of 15. Wow, and that's a lot, but you got to look at the roll of it. So could we have a hammer and an anvil going on here? So let's do that, because you could take, if you put those in your army, it's flexible. You put them all in one giant unit, if you think that works. Dark Riders is what we're talking about here. Or you can split them into multiple problem-solving units, you know, that serve a different role. So let's start with that. Let's start with Riders. Now these are core, mind you. We'll start with 15. 15 times. And that is what did I say, 250 points? That's 250 points. So we'll put that there. 250 points for that bad girl. And, okay, so where are we now? We need other stuff to make that 650 points for a 2,500 point army. That's tough, because they're all good. It's not like looking at the high elf list. It's like the warriors are awesome because they're so cheap. The crossbowmen are awesome because they have crossbows, which are fantastic. Repeater crossbows. Okay, so guy, do you see how confused I am? I'm like, where do I go? Well, let's just go with the standard thing. So let's get a unit of crossbows. Let's get 10 of those. So X-bows. And that 10 of those is 100 points. Okay, so there's that. And Corsairs, so there's your problem. Corsairs are warriors. I'm going to say, but what role do they play? Are they attackers? Are they defenders? Are they the anvil where you can just kind of march them up with confidence and, you know, be like, okay, well, attack me. We got to look at defenses for that. They only have light armor and sea dragon cloak. Ooh, what's a sea dragon cloak? Let's find out. I used to know this. I'm kind of embarrassed that I don't know it offhand. Oh, here you go, Corsairs. By the way, the Corsairs have great models. They are so gorgeous. +1 to model saving throw in close combat. +2 against any other attacks, including shooting and so on. Well, they're kind of like a shield, but they don't have... Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Corsairs are awesome. So, light armor... Well, no, a hand weapon and a shield would give them the parry save, right? But they do get +2 versus other stuff. So they are heavy infantry, basically has a 5+ save for heavy armor, and another, bringing them to 4+ if they have a shield. So that's heavy infantry, but they're only toughness 3, but they have other special abilities, and the models are cool. So let's put in our Blackguard Corsairs. And then so this 350, we only need 300 points, so let's put in a unit of 30, and then we'll put a big old C for Corsairs and call it 300, well, with command, we'll just make it 350. Okay, can they have other things? Ooh, give pair of hand bows to Reaver. That's the champion. Ooh, may carry a standard up to 25 points. Oh, that's pretty awesome. Okay, so 350. So there's your core right there, and that is a balanced army, good sir. If you don't like that, go ahead and get Dark Elf Warriors. They are shield and spear. And for the same amount of points, you could get a unit easily of 40. Well, I won't put it on there, but you get the idea. So there's your big block of guys. And let's move on to specials. Specials are Witch Elves, Shades, Executioners, Cold One Knights, Cold One Chariot, and Blackguard. Now, I used to love me some Blackguard. Blackguard! And that is because they are stubborn. They're warrior elite. They have 2 attacks. Actually, they still are awesome. Now, all these models used to be metal, which was kind of a drag because a unit of 20 guys all metal. And another problem is the Executioners had a sword piece. Yeah. All right, you're going to hear about this. They'd be holding their swords like this, so it was a big old sword blade that came out, which looked really cool. They had like chain masks on and cool helmets with plumes and whatnot. But the sword blade was the only piece, so it had such a flimsy contact point that it was like snap. Oh crap! So and the Blackguard had they didn't really rank up very well. So it's weird, but I think fine cast is really solving that problem because they do bend just a little bit. So instead of the metal ones where it was like, oh, I can't give at all, I'm just going to snap. All right, it's getting late. I got to wrap this up. So let's do this thing. Cold One Knights have great models, but yikes, like all cavalry, they could, so either take them as your hammer and go with a big block of at least 10 with a hero in it, or stay home. So executioners. So okay, so get a unit. I'm just going to put E for elites. So go executioners or blackguard. I don't care which. Executioners have killing blow, and they also. Okay, so you know what? So pick executioners or blackguard, who cares? By the way, great conversion is using Dark Eldar Incubi as executioners. It's a little tight with the ranking up, but they look fantastic. And again, wow, you could use Dark Eldar Witches as your, just with a little modification, you can use them as your witches, witch elves. And that would actually, I think it'd be less expensive too. So Cold One Chariots, not so good because they have stupidity, they're not reliable. Same thing with Cold One Knights if you just fail that thing. But they do have Leadership 9 with BSB, but see, it's like if, and they're just not reliable. But they could, well, but they took, the Cold Ones used to have 2 attacks each, and that's what made Cold One Knights, but then they nerfed them down to 1. So it's tough. Maybe they're balanced. I really don't know. But quite frankly, that's what I would do. Cauldron of Bloods, 2 cauldrons is pretty much an auto include. If you do them as heroes, they end up being $250 each. In fact, yeah, that's the only way you can do them. You have to take a hero, and this is like a thing. Great conversions can be had there too. You can make like some kind of floating war altar, or I've used Privateer Press cauldrons. And those are pretty cool from Legion of Everblight. So what do we got? We got 350. They've got 600. God, we only have 1,100. Oh yeah, your elites are probably, if you go, let's make those 30 as well. Let's make them beefy. That's about 450, right? So we're 600, 1050, 1300, 1400, 1750. Oh, we're almost there. Let's throw in a couple of repeater bolt throwers. And those are 100 points each. And then you got your heroes. So let's just say heroes are 500 points for your 4 heroes that you're going to include. You need a general, 2 wizards, and a BSB. That's a good loadout. You can include like an assassin in here. I'm a huge fan of assassins. I don't know if they're good, but they are fun. When you pop one of those out, surprise, I get to stab you a little bit first before anything else happens. And that always makes sure there's a psychological effect to that. So the cauldrons, they basically move along and they get bonuses to these other guys. So this is a well-balanced dark elf army. You're going to have a lot of fun with it. You could throw a direct. Oh my gosh! I forgot the giant thing. Right now, people are like, "Tell them about the hydras!" Oh, you fool! Yeah, you are going to need 2 hydras. Let's just put them over here. H. So watch your rares. So this is 350. So now you could push it like to 3,000 if you wanted to, or you could drop something. Maybe not take repeater bolt throwers, or take 1 of each. Although 2 hydras, oh, it's fantastic, because the Cauldron of Blood can throw effects on it, which I think is like gives extra attacks. It can give a ward save, yeah, +1 attack, killing blow, or a ward save. Oh man, I wish I could take. In fact, can you take more Cauldrons of Blood? Oh, I think you can. You're not limited to 2 because it's a thing. And and you don't roll either. It's not a spell. So do this army before they redo the book and make it so you have to roll for it and it's not reliable anymore. So there you go. So here you go. Great Dark Elf army. Let's put H for heroes at 500 points. And yeah, you've got it right there. That is so, and you could play. There's so many different options you could play around with. You could take a bigger block of spearmen. You could drop the riders and put in some cold one knights. Actually, you couldn't, because then you won't have your core. But you could beef that with crossbows. Crossbows are a great option. They can fire in ranks now. So 2 units of crossbows. Dark Elves are just, and making them from Dark Eldar plastics, because the Witch Elves, they fit. The bodies of the Witch Elves don't have futuristic stuff on them, as far as I can remember. You just have to switch out the arms, and the Witch Elves have so many awesome weapon arms. But why would you do that when you've got Corsairs, which are great models? But if you did the Witch Elf army, that would be a super army, because the Dark Eldar witches would rank up properly on the 20mm bases. I'm feeling pretty confident they would, and that would be a cool looking bodysuit and barbed wire army. So again, this is what we do. We make armies, and we have trade-in armies. So there's really no reason that let's make it positive. There's every reason that you should be coming to Blue Table Painting to get your army and get your painted army. This is what we do. It's my passion. I love it. I think miniatures battles is a great hobby. My company is improving the neighborhood and maybe even improving the world. And that said, I'm always pleasantly surprised that things have gone as well as they have. And again, I just want to thank everybody that's been involved. And I really am. I think it's a great thing. Anyway, all right, get a Dark Elf army.